Oh, hi. I'm Tim. Welcome to Tim's Time. I'm getting ready for my big chance to speak at Kane Elementary, terrific kids, and I'm going to talk with them about cooperation. And I plan on telling this story. This is a true story. It's a story that I told to our preschool chapel here this past Wednesday. When I was a little kid, Daddy was in service. We lived all over, and one of the places we lived was in Texas. Mom and Dad didn't have a lot of money, and so in fact they didn't even buy me my first glove and ball. My uncle did. He bought me a glove and a baseball, even though I'm holding a softball today, and gave it to me. We had one of those. We lived in a small house in Corpus Christi, Texas. We lived in one of those houses though that had a pretty big backyard and had a picket fence. And I can remember sitting out there in that backyard, throwing the ball up and playing, imagining. There are teams, there are players, there are uniforms, there are crowds, there are everything. It was all me, and it was me playing. And not too long after that, I moved to New York, or Daddy did, and he took me with him. And that's where I fell in love years and years ago as a young child with the New York Mets. And that's also the place where I learned cooperation, even though I don't know that I actually knew I learned it. We lived in a high-rise apartment, and you could look out one of our windows. There was this playground down below, and then there was a street, parking lot in the street, and then right across that was a field. There were 2 football fields. There were several softball, baseball fields, and I noticed that there were young guys playing ball on that field. It took me a while before I actually approached them and asked them if I could play ball with them, but they welcomed me in, and I learned the difference between imagining that there were teams and actually having teams. If you get enough cooperation or enough kids playing, you can play a full baseball game. In fact, we had enough on the island. Some of you will remember these days. Young kids today don't quite experience life the same way, but we would get up in the morning during the summer, have breakfast, and go out and play ball. I'd play ball until lunchtime, come home. Mama would have a sandwich or soup or whatever it was. We would have lunch. I'd go back and play ball until supper time. And sometimes we'd play even after supper. I mean, all day long, day after day. It is incredible how much baseball or football or basketball or whatever game you're trying, it is incredible how much you can play and how much fun you can have if you really learn to deal with other people, if you learn cooperation. Now look, what does that have to do with Tim's time? And what does that have to do with church attendance, is what I talked about last week. But just this, the Bible doesn't really use the word cooperation. It uses a different word. It uses a word called fellowship. We've made fellowship, or sort of reduced it into eating. But fellowship is the realization that there is a common unity, a bond. In fact, the word koinonia means that which is common. There's a common bond or unity that occurs when people are committed to the same thing. When they're cooperating to do a work day, or to impact their community, or to help the kingdom of God go forward, or whatever it is. And it's important. I learned a long, long time ago. I now look back on it and think maybe God was in it. But at the time, it just met my need for fun. I learned a long time ago that if I was really going to get the most out of life, I needed other people. And so do you. And so, with apologies to Simon and Garfunkel, a rock does feel pain, and an island cries. And living life on your own, it may be okay, but it's not going to be everything you're supposed to. That's another reason for attending church or plugging yourself in to a congregation, because you need others. Hey, there's somebody out there who needs you. So as you're praying today, this morning, tonight, whenever you're viewing Tim's Time and you're heading into this week, why don't you ask God to show you who's supposed to be wearing this glove? Have a fantastic week. God bless.